to be in. Interesting with Florida, with the, I mean, like the pandemic seems so long ago now, but Florida seemed to be one of the few places that, in and amongst the pandemic, was still fairly open. How were things
Yes,
over there for you?
it's even more open now. It was good, as you say. It was open when many of the states were closed down. That's, I guess, the way the United States works. The governors of each individual state have a lot of power, and the
Mm.
governor of Florida chose to keep it open, although he locked down all the old age homes. He locked them down so that because that's where people were dying. We're known as, he calls it, God's waiting room, because
Yes.
we have so many retirees here in Florida. So it was extremely important to get all the old people vaccinated and to close down the nursing homes and stuff so the infection couldn't get in. And we fared pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it sounds like common sense, which is a thing that is in short supply in this day and age. So that's fantastic. Um, so yeah, I mean, the world's open back up again now. Conference season is going crazy. All the usual conferences are back on as well. We briefly spoke at Heartland's conference,
Yes.
which was really cool. But tell me a bit about you. Tell me about you before hypnosis. You know, what was your first experience that brought you to this kind of career?
Well, my first experience was actually in high school. I was a high school junior, so I was 16 years old, and I was in a psychology course, a psychology class, and they brought a hypnotist in, and and so we had to get permission from our parents to participate in the demonstration. Of course, I wanted to, and so two or three other boys and I got called up to the front of the room. We sat in chairs, and the hypnotist failed to hypnotize any of us.
Oh,
I was he was doing a hand levitation induction, and my hand, he said, when your hand touches your face, you're going to go into hypnosis. And I got about this far, and I thought, uh-oh, I'm starting to get scared. So
yeah,
and I pulled myself out, as did the other two or three boys, and he failed to hypnotize any of us. And so, but fortunately, he was smart. He had hypnotized a girl in one of the previous classes, so he brought her along just in case something like that happened, and did some demonstrations with her. And I was amazed. At one point, he pulled his ear or scratched his cheek or something like that, and this girl, who we all knew, jumped up from her chair and ran up to the front and slapped him on the back and said, "Good job, Dr. Smith," and then had
nice,
no idea why she had just done that. And I
nice.
thought, I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah,
This is amazing. I need to. And so that was probably my first taste of hypnosis.
yes. We've got a couple of hellos as well. Adam Richard Dealey says hello. Tommy V says hello.
Oh, Tommy
And Kaz
and
Riley.
Kaz.
And Kaz is here as well. Kaz, are you back in the UK now? Or are you still in? Are you still in? I think it was in Jamaica. You've just been. Kaz is very well travelled at the moment. So yes, fantastic. So I was going to say, were you just recently at Hypno Thoughts?
Yes, I was in Las Vegas. Yes.
Fantastic. Do you know what? It's a conference I was supposed to speak at, then something went wrong, and each time there's been something go wrong. And then this year, my summer season of shows came back in, so I couldn't do it yet. She's in Jamaica.
Oh, well,
Fantastic.
unfortunately, you missed Kaz's keynote speech at
Yeah.
Hypnothoughts, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I've heard it was amazing as well. Jeff Benink is here as well. He says, hi, guys. Jeff is
Hello,
a
Jeff.
fantastic
Hey,
guy. And
and
I,
John,
I will say
Adam.
this, if you're ever in the Netherlands, he's a fantastic host as well. He treated me to a coffee this week. So, yeah. So you've seen the demonstration that, wasn't the best that it could be. So what was the next step? What was your first learning experience for hypnosis? What kind of made you went, this is what I'm going to do, and then went for it?
Well, I had a different career. I was working for the federal government for nearly 30 years, and but along the way, I got interested in NLP, neuro linguistic programming. So I was taking the training, and I thought I was getting pretty good at hypnotizing people. And then one of my friends called me, and she said, "You need to take this hypnosis course." And I said, "I'm already a hypnotist." And she said, "No, you're not. I am, but you're not." And I said, well, why is that? And she said, because I just met this guy named Jerry Kine, and now I'm a hypnotist and you are not. And so I said, okay. So she was a very good friend of mine. And so I took his course, and she was right. I was not a hypnotist, but he made me a hypnotist. And he was, I mean, a lot of the people, at least in the United States, but maybe in many places in the world, considered him one of the best trainers in the world. And boy, he really, that was a great start for me. So I did that. And then the rest is history. I was hooked because it's the coolest job in the world. And we can talk about that a little bit later, but there's nothing cooler than being a hypnotist.
Absolutely. Yeah. A couple of comments as well. Craig Ratcliffe says he loves everything that you guys do. And Paul Ramsey says he didn't know you were one of Jerry's kids, Sean. Very cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Jerry's kid.
Yeah. Paul's a fantastic guy. I don't know if you guys know about it, but Paul runs a mastermind once a month on Zoom, which is fantastic. If you are into stage hypnosis, then get into that mastermind. There's some great stuff that we talk about in there as well. So you've done the training. Did you start off kind of going down that therapy route? Because you're very well known for, again, you cross all of those, the stage, the street, the therapy, the speed. Where was your original passion? Were you a therapist that started to do the impromptu stuff, or the other way around?
Yes, I was a therapist. As a matter of fact, I can remember telling people that I thought that stage hypnosis should be outlawed.
Yes.
I said, it cheapens our craft. We're trying to heal people, and you've got these stage hypnotists going out there doing these outrageous things, and that somebody should put a stop to that. And then a few years later, I was doing stage hypnosis.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to do therapy because I wanted to help people. I think everybody at some point in their life wants to be the healer, wants to be able to help people have a better life and take away suffering and that sort of thing. And it's, wow, I mean, what could be better than that?
Yeah.
But then I don't know how I got hooked. My gosh, I do not. Well, I know. I blame Jerry Kine for this as well, because on the 6th day of his class, he sent us across the street to Stetson University and said, hypnotize those students. Okay. So we went over there and we used instant inductions, and boom, 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 boom. The first 9 people I hypnotized, went into trance, and I was hooked. The first few times it happens, you go, this can't be real. They're faking, aren't they? They're faking, but you can feel the weight of their head on your shoulder, and think this person is out cold. And so the first 9 people that I tried this on, it worked. And I guess from there I was hooked.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, kind of swapping about as well. I know you do some stuff in Germany, in Europe.
Yes.
How are those compared to Americans to be hypnotized? Now, I know Germans are very efficient when it comes to language. So yeah, what is the difference between the two?
There's not too much difference. Most Americans are of European stock, Northern European stock, I think, more than Southern European stock. And Northern Europeans are, they go into hypnosis fine. They're not as good as people from, say, other parts of the world. Like people from the Indian subcontinent tend to be better at going into hypnosis than Northern Europeans. And James Esdale found this out when he was working in India, and he could mesmerize people quite easily. But when he went back to England, I guess he was from Scotland, but he went back to England and tried this in medical schools, and it didn't work so well. So we know that, at least research shows, that Northern Europeans are not as highly hypnotizable as people from some other parts of the world. But Americans are about the same as Germans. Germans, I guess Germans take a little bit longer to warm up to you, but once you get to know them, they pretty much go into hypnosis the same as Americans.
Nice. I worked Germany for a few years, but I only did British bases out there. So I was just doing squaddies. So there's no comparison there. Those guys are a bit crazy anyway. Natasha Stanley says, hey there.
Hey, Natasha.
Bless her. And Kaz Riley says, I took Sean's stage class a few years ago and it was fantastic.
Oh, well,
Oh,
thank
there we
you.
go.
Thank you, Kaz.
You can't say better than that as well. It's one of the things at the moment, we've got some absolutely fantastic people in this industry that are so happy to share their knowledge as well, which is one of the things that's why it's great to have guests on like yourself. So much knowledge in the hypnosis field and so happy to share that as well. Joyce says, watched a lot of times your DVDs, Sean's. They are fantastic. Thanks for the personal note you wrote in it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But as far as sharing goes, I credit my teachers, Gerald Kine and Gil Boyne and others, Bandler, Grinder, all those guys, because they were very good at sharing their knowledge with me. And so it's kind of a tribute to them that I share. I mean, I don't keep secrets. If Kaz has probably heard this before, I don't keep secrets. If I know something, I'm going to share it with you, unless it's personal information. But yeah, I think that's what a hypnosis teacher ought to do. Just spill your guts.
I think it's why, and this is my personal opinion, I think it's why hypnotherapy is more, I say advanced, but more socially acceptable within the community than what stage stuff is. A lot of stage hypnotists in the past have kind of gone, oh, this is my stuff and I'm not going to share. And whereas hypnotherapists are always trying to evolve, come up with new protocols, new strategies, and there's a lot of sharing and development going on there. So, but it's changing that. You know, stage hypnotists are getting better at kind of sharing that knowledge as well.
Good.
So tell us about your first stage show. You know, you're a therapist, you're doing well at that. And then something inside you says, I want to make someone look like a chicken. Tell us about
Oh my
that.
gosh. I haven't thought about that in a long time. Thank you for this won't be a pretty story. One of my friends was a stage hypnotist, and he was double booked. And he had one job, which was really, it paid better. And then he had this other job. And I didn't know why he didn't want to do it, but he gave it to me. He said, yeah, please do your best. He'd never seen me do a stage show because I'd never done one. So it was something in Annapolis, Maryland. This is down by, it's a seaport. And it was called Wine, Women, and Roses. And it was a little cruise ship, and it would leave the docks in Annapolis and it would go out and go around the harbor and then come back after a few hours. And so I thought, well, okay, yeah, that sounds good. So I get on there, and I met a guy who had entertained on there before. And I said, so what's it going to be like? What's the crowd like? He said, well, first of all, they'll be drunk. Okay. Because it's wine. What they did was they all were drinking mimosas and other champagne drinks before they got on the ship. And so they were pretty snockered by the time they got on the ship. And which as a hypnotist, stage hypnotist, you know, is not necessarily a bad thing, but they were very, very, yeah. So anyway, so I did my show. And I can remember, oh my gosh, it was ugly. It was, I mean, I did the best that I could. And I think I wound up with about 7 ladies in the chairs at the end of the show. And it was a standard hypnosis show. You know, start out with a hot and cold skit, and then you go to the orchestra skit, and then you just, you know, but I was very, very nervous. Yeah, that was my first show, and yeah, we all have to have that first show, right?
Yeah, it's always interesting, and different people come in. Some people have a terrible first show, which then motivates them to actually go on to be brilliant stage hypnotists. And I think sometimes if you have a brilliant first show, you kind of become overconfident, and then something scuppers you further down the line. So yeah, my first show, I called it completely wrong on the audience, and I was doing a charity show for bikers with a disability. And when you're trying to get people to do like locking their hands together, and half the audience has only got one arm, or getting people to stand up, and most of them are amputees, I was like, this is the wrong crowd for me. And so those things kind of, I think once it goes wrong, you think, right, well, if I can do that, I can do it anywhere, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a tough show.
So, I mean, you've done some fantastic shows as well, and you're one of the few people that I know that has done the double header show as well. You did the Hypnotizers show
Yeah,
with a female hypnotist. How was
yeah,
that?
with
How
Kenda.
did that come about?
Well, actually, by accident, Kenda, actually, she's my best friend, and she made me an international trainer because in 2007, I guess, she invited me up to teach in Ottawa, Canada, in Ontario. And so that was my first international show. I've taught in 17 countries so far, and my wife bought me a really nice flag display. It has, I don't know where it is. It's in a box somewhere. But anyway, it's a flag display, and every time I teach in a new country, I get that flag and I put it
Nice.
in there. So anyway, that was my first flag, was Canada. And so I went up there, and it was a great class, and she filled the room. And then she called me a few months later and said, "Hey, I want to do a fair. Will you come up and do a fair in Richmond, Ontario?" And I said, "Okay, I will," because I really owed her. And I went up there, and wow, what a blast! That was great. It was, a funny thing happened at that show, Grant. It was, how we always dismiss the people that are not responding very well, or who
Yeah.
don't go in deep enough, and that sort of thing. It's just a fact of life when you're doing a hypnosis show. Well, we had about, what would it have been? It would have been about 14 people, maybe 15 people on the stage, and we kept everyone.
Nice.
Everyone. And that never happens,
No.
ever. There's always somebody who doesn't go in deep enough, or somebody who's just sits there like a potato, and you have to dismiss them. But through some stroke of luck, we kept everyone. And the organizer for the fair was just over the moon. She said, "You guys are the best hypnotists ever." Why is that? Because you kept everyone. We didn't have the heart to tell her, that was a fluke. This never happens, lady. But yeah, so that was a fun show. But yeah, it was fun because we could play off one another. And the way we did it when we did a dual show was, she would take some skits and I take others. And so on some skits, she would be the lead, and I would back her up. On other skits, I would be the lead. She'd back me up, and it worked really well. We're gonna do some more shows probably this year together. So that was fun.
Yeah. I think the dynamics just work so well as well, especially with stage hypnosis is predominantly a male masculine
Yeah,
industry.
true.
And I think there does need to be more female stage hypnotists. And I think it helps the show to have both that masculine and that feminine energy on there as well. And I think it
Yeah,
helps the
I agree.
volunteers relax a bit, that they know that nothing too untoward's going to happen as well. So yeah,
Right.
it's fantastic. I remember seeing the
Mhm.
promo for it a few years back and just thinking that's absolutely spot on. So yeah, and Jeff Benning says Kenda is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, bless. Yeah, might drop her a message, see if we can get her on the show as well. Actually,
Yeah,
there does need to be
I'm sure she'd
more.
be happy to.
Yeah, there does need to be more good female stage hypnosis role models as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a market because, excuse me, because they're kind of rare.
Yeah,
And I think that for any woman that wants to get into stage hypnosis, I think there's definitely a market.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think we're lucky that stage hypnosis is, it is coming back into, I say fashion, that's not the right term, but it is a very popular form of entertainment again now. And I think
Mhm.
because it's moving away from the clucking like a chicken and the silliness, it is merging, that, like you said earlier, those hypnotherapists that are kind of like, I don't like stage hypnosis. Those two worlds are merging now, and people are seeing the benefits of that. Tell us
Mhm.
about your most challenging show, or the most challenging experience with hypnosis that you've had?
Hmm. Okay. Most challenging show. I think actually this is with my friend Kenda. We did what did we do? We did the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Conference in Florida, and then we did the one in the Mid America Conference in Chicago,
Hmm.
and then we did the Hypnothoughts Conference in Las Vegas, all in the same year. And
Wow.
all three of those were frightening. They were scary. And when you do a hypnosis show at a hypnosis convention, it is, on the one hand, your easiest show ever, and on the other hand, your scariest show ever.
Yeah.
Because I always say that 20% of the population are somnambulists. Okay. And that's been going back 200 years. They've said that. And so they're going to be good subjects. And, but in a hypnosis conference, about 30 to 35% of the people are going to be somnambulists. So you're going to get a good committee. You're going to have no trouble hypnotizing them. However, everybody in that audience was a hypnotist, and they're sitting there judging you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it quite like that. Yeah, that was okay. But you know what? He could have made it better if he did this. And so it was, like I say, it was the easiest show, but yet it was the scariest show. And every one of those 3 shows, because we did 3 in 1 year, every one of those was like that. It was great when it was over, but it was scary.
I love to have hypnotists in the audience. So just a quick hello to Jennifer. Jennifer saw me at Whitemead this week. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'm there again on Wednesday. It's always interesting. I always like to think I don't change my show if there's hypnotists in the audience, but I think I do on 2 different levels. One, because I make my money as a performing stage hypnotist. So I have some little routines and some little quirks that I think are unique to me. So when I know there's stage hypnotists in the audience, those get locked away. They're not coming out. And I shouldn't do that, but I'm selfish when it comes to that. But then it also makes me super conscious of everything that I do, where I'm standing, what I'm doing. And it helps remind me of what I should be doing on stage sometimes. And I think when you work a lot, for me, when I work a lot, sometimes you just get a bit too casual. I mean, you've got stage hypnotists or even hypnotherapists in the audience. It makes you go, oh, you've got to behave. You've got to, and you're like, actually, be super, super aware of what you're doing. And so, but I try not to change my show, but I try not to give away too much stuff. Where do you see, I mean, hypnosis, especially with stuff in the media, where do you see it going as a profession, both for hypnotherapists and for entertainment hypnosis? Where do you kind of see it going over the next 5 years with the introduction of stuff like TikTok, Instagram? I see a lot of, stuff on YouTube of the shorter street stuff as well, which is popular. And you wrote the book on street stuff. Where do you see hypnosis as an industry going?
Well, I think in performance hypnosis, I think that it has a very bright future. I think that during COVID, a lot of performing stage hypnotists had to get a real job.
Yeah,
they had to get, because there was no work, and so they got other jobs and they got comfortable being off the road. And so now there's kind of a shortage.
Yeah.
And so I think that now it's gaining in popularity, as you say, with TikTok and other social media. So I think it's gaining popularity, and now there is a shortage of competent stage hypnotists. So I think the future is bright over the next 5 years for stage hypnosis, at least for the hypnotists. Excuse me. Now, as far as hypnotherapy, this is going to be a little controversial.
That's what we like.
Okay, Grant, you're asking some very difficult questions. I'll probably pay for this one. I don't see things changing in the next 5 years or more in hypnotherapy, and the reason for that is there's no standardization. There are no, what's the word I'm looking for? There just are no standards.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a medical person, there are certain tests you have to pass. My gosh, you can't even cut somebody's hair unless you have a license, and there's no licensing for hypnotherapy. Anyone can hang a shingle out there and say, I'm a hypnotherapist. And so there's a wide variety. There's some really brilliant hypnotherapists that are doing outstanding work. And there are some hypnotherapists that, unfortunately, some of them even have trouble hypnotizing people.
Yeah.
They get scared. When a client comes in, sometimes they'll think to themselves, well, I sure hope I can get her into trance. And that doesn't happen. I mean, you don't go into to get your hair cut and have the guy going, boy, I hope I can do something with this guy's head.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. But unfortunately, it does in hypnosis. And I've seen that in all around the world in the countries that have taught. Confidence on the part of hypnotists and training on the part of hypnotists is not where it ought to be. And until we get some standardization, I don't really see it. We'll continue to help people, and that's great, but we can't take off until we have some standards. But that's just my personal opinion, and it probably won't be supported by anybody else.
Do you know what? I think you're absolutely right. I think, again, this is just my opinion. I
good. You're getting in trouble too.
I know. And I think a lot of hypnotherapists, a lot of people come into the hypnotherapy profession because they want to do great work. They want to help the world. They are very nice and fluffy and woo-woo people, which is great. But like you said, they almost demonize the stage hypnosis and the street stuff. And they want to do the whole plinky plonky, nicey walking down a meadow stuff. But the reality is they need to learn or develop the confidence that you get from doing street, from impromptu, from doing stage. When somebody at a party or a business networking event says, oh, go on then, hypnotize me. They need to have that confidence to go and do it. And because they don't, they almost go. And I remember seeing a hypnotherapist do a demonstration on a stage, and they almost said, oh, that stuff you see on YouTube, that's just set up, that's edited. It's not really like that. And I remember sitting in the audience going, no. I think you're right. I think the hypnotherapists need to take on board more of the performance side, which will help them develop their confidence as well.
Absolutely. And it'll help them develop their business. I've seen so many good hypnotherapists. I mean, talented people that really had something to offer the public, but because they were bad at running a business, if you can't run a business and you can't make money, then you can't help anybody, and business just dries up and blows away. And so, as you say, if you know how to do the impromptu demonstrations, and if you know how to do that, then you can do the demonstrations and bring people into your practice. It's most hypnotists don't know what to do when somebody says, oh, you're a hypnotist, can you show me something? That's they can't do it, and they should be able to.
Joris, who's in the comment section, I met up with him this week, some time ago, whenever it was. It's been a long week, and he has a little circle on his business card, and kind of does the hand stick to the card and makes the impromptu demonstration part of his business marketing, which is a great way to do that.
I like it.
There we go. Jeff Benning says there, demo fills your chair. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely, Jeff.
So, I mean, I always ask guests for like a book recommendation, but I already have your book in my comment section here as well. So I'm going to pop this up on screen now. This is the book on kind of stage, street, and impromptu demonstrations. Let me pop that up there as well. And that should put a link in the comment section as well, if anyone wants to purchase a copy of that from Amazon. I think I get 20p off Amazon for that. I think last year through the whole series, I think I earned 45 cents. Street Hypnosis, fantastic book on street hypnosis. Tell me, kind of, here in the UK, it's a funny one, street hypnosis. Technically, we're not allowed to do it because of the 1952 Hypnotism Act, and everyone's going to jump on board now and go, that act doesn't mean anything, all of that. I believe, and it's like a hornet's nest waiting to go off over there. I believe impromptu demonstrations, like we said, are a great way of doing that. Tell me the thinking behind the book, because I remember when this came out, and there was a big movement on exactly what you became about speed, putting people into trance quickly. Tell me your thoughts, how you came about the book.
Well, I guess I was teaching street hypnosis at conferences, and I I wanted to write. I wrote, that was my second book. My first book was how to choose the best hypnotic subjects, because if you want to look really good, you pick the great people,
Yeah.
and if you pick the great people, then you can't go wrong. So that was my first book, and then I just decided to broaden it a bit, and talk about the things that I do when I go out to the street, and how to make these demonstrations work. So it's called Street Hypnosis, but really it's a lot of the stuff that hypnotherapists need to know, and I think and techniques. You see, actually, Grant, I'm kind of a scaredy cat when it comes to doing demonstrations, right? I'm always afraid. Am I going to fail? So in order to not fail, I've come up with a lot of tricks so that when I do a demonstration, I know it's going to be successful. I never fail.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, you shouldn't say that, you're going to jinx it. No, I'm not going to fail, because I know how to tell the most highly hypnotizable people, and I know ways to hypnotize them in such a way that I cannot fail.
Yeah.
And so that was the inspiration behind the book. It was the things that I was teaching other hypnotists to do when they were doing demonstrations, because I know a lot of other people were afraid to fail. And so that was, here's what you can do, and you can't fail if you do these things.
Yeah. And I think some hypnotists can fall in foul of this. And I did it myself for a while. And it's the more you do and the longer you're in the industry, for me, it became like when I was 3 years, maybe 5 years into kind of stage hypnosis, I was fearless. I had no reputation to lose. I would just, I would randomly go up to strangers and just hypnotize anybody and everyone. And then I got known as the hypnotist, which effectively helps you hypnotize them easier.
Yes, prestige. Yes,
exactly. But then part of me is then like, yeah, but I've got this prestige now. I've got a reputation that can now almost be broken by that. So probably about 10 years ago, I would only hypnotize people within the confines of the stage and when I was in control over it. And I kind of developed this fear of failure. Because once you've built up a reputation, it's easy to lose it again then. But by going back and doing some street stuff, it just takes it to I mean, I love the stage, but the street stuff, I just think there's something really magical about it.
Oh yeah, it can make you bulletproof when you can. I mean, because if you think about it, when you're doing street hypnosis, I mean, if you can hypnotize strangers who are just out doing the shopping, and you can hypnotize them, to hypnotize them on the stage or when they're in your office, it's just a piece of cake, because the street is the most is the most difficult environment to make hypnosis happen. And I agree.
I think, and this is where I think kind of opposite to what we said earlier, every hypnotherapist should learn the stage stuff. I also think, all stage hypnotists have to understand the principles of hypnotherapy as well. And especially when it comes to the street stuff. My concern with, especially in the UK, we're only just, forget the pandemic, but we're only just recovering from the negative impact that we had in the kind of 90s of people doing silly things with hypnosis. It pretty much, there was no stage hypnosis in this country for a while. And so we're just getting through that. So my fear or my concern with it, and even though I'm pro impromptu hypnosis, my concern is when someone sees a video on YouTube of somebody doing an arm pull or a touch on the forehead, and they're dropping into trance and doing stuff, then people recreate that, but without the foundations of what happens if there's an abreaction, what happens if the person runs off. And so what do you think of the fundamentals? If somebody's watching this that doesn't have the basics of hypnotherapy, but is looking at doing street stuff, what would you say are the kind of the 2 or 3 things that they must have boxed off?
I think that they need to be very safety minded. I'm a big advocate of performing these things safely. Like for instance, if you're doing an arm pull or a hand drop induction, an instant induction, I always do the safety check. I want to know, do they have any wrist or elbow or shoulder problems or any neck problems.
Yeah.
And if they do, then we use something gentle, or I just don't work with that person. So that is important. Yeah. I used to do something. I used to do a head roll where you put your one hand at the base of the skull in the back and the other on the forehead, and you just gently roll the head around. And I no longer teach that for two reasons. First of all, because I was concerned that people that didn't know what I was doing were going to be too rough on people's necks. That was the first thing. The second reason is sometimes my classes are quite large. And in order to show them the safe way to do it, I would sit in a chair and let them roll my head around. Well, when you get through 30 people, it was, I couldn't even stand up. I was so dizzy. So that was rough on me. But the main aspect of it, I stopped doing it simply because I didn't like the idea of people trying to imitate what I did and maybe do it too roughly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Joris says, always love the safety check that Sean teaches. One of the things I really love is exactly that. In a couple of the videos on YouTube where you're doing this stuff, you keep that safety check in there on the video as well. And I think that's really important because stage hypnotists, we have been known to have an ego and we want to make it look like what we're doing is Jedi tricks. And a lot of the time that safety element is kept out of it. So the video that you see is walking up to a stranger, popping an arm and down they go. I love the fact that you keep that in. Is there any kind of incidents with your elbows and wrists? So it does, it instills that kind of safety element. And for people watching it, trying to copy it, it lets them know that safety is important as well. So yeah, absolutely, it's spot on for that as well. There is a guy, I'm going to try and get him on as a guest. He's very popular on TikTok at the moment. And it's interesting the way that he does it. And I'm not saying it's the right or wrong way. It's just not the way that I would do it. I think it's a fantastic demonstration of hypnosis. But he does an arm pull and then drops them to the floor, but generally in a swimming pool, which is, yeah, exactly. And it's a really interesting demonstration to drop someone into a swimming pool and they go. The safe, my mind, when I see it, my mind's like, what? But I'm sure there's more to the video than what I see on TikTok.
Yeah, I have not seen that. I want to see that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's his USP at the moment now, which is again great. But my only concern is people watching that then emulate it. I think hypnosis and underwater. I don't know how well they work together.
They don't drown or anything, huh?
Yeah, they cut the video at that point, I think. So yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting. And again, but I don't want to jump on that. Oh my God, this is terrible. Because I think it's a very powerful demonstration. However,
you have to send me a link. I haven't seen that yet.
yeah, I will do. But yeah, I think he's just approached over 1 million followers on TikTok, which exactly, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, but hypnotic baptisms. Who knew it was a market? I mean, that's the great thing with hypnosis.
As long as we're alienating people.
Yeah, I must admit, yeah. Just wait till I bring out my on fire induction. I mean, they go into trance so quickly when you just set them on fire. I mean, I think that's the great thing about what we do is almost anything can become an induction. Almost anything can be utilized as a skit or a metaphor to help people have change. I mean, you mentioned earlier about this is the coolest job in the world.
Yeah.
You know, it absolutely is.
It is. I mean, I tell people all the time, I say, you know, when I'm speaking at conferences, I say, you probably lose sight of this, but you are the coolest person in the room. Unless any room you go into, you are the coolest person. Unless there's a brain surgeon astronaut in the room, you are the coolest. And even then, I think you're probably the coolest person in the room.
Yeah.
And it's
even the brain
just
surgeon then has questions to ask you about hypnosis.
Sorry, say again, please.
It says even the brain surgeon will still have questions that he wants to ask you about hypnosis.
Probably will. And you know, astronauts can be kind of dry and boring, but anyway. But hypnotists, yes, we are the most interesting people. I mean, in high school, I was not one of the cool kids. My sister was a cool kid, but I was not one of the cool kids. And now I can be one of the cool kids because I'm a hypnotist and because I have this thing that I do that people were fascinated by. And so, yeah, it's congratulations to being one of the cool kids. If you weren't when you were in high school, I sure wasn't.
And it's I was talking about this with another hypnotist, and it was about, it's that comic book hypnosis. It is almost a superpower that we have. And when we look at it like that way, and we do kind of do the whole pow and, add some drama to it, add that performance element to that induction, rather than being, and I'm sure, there's some hypnotherapists out there, and there's nothing wrong if that's the way that they choose to work. But, taking someone on a 15, 20-minute journey through a forest with, light and cold and, yada, yada, yada. Or, that's fine. But, when they book a hypnotist, whether it be for therapy or for whatever, on some level in their mind, they've booked someone that has got a superpower that is going to go pow and something amazing is going to happen. So, yeah. I mean, you're a very active member of the community. You speak at a lot of the conferences. How was that transition for you? Because I'm new to the conference circuit as such. For years, I always said I was never going to do training because I was busy just running my business of hypnosis. So it's only over the last maybe 2 or 3 years that I've started to pick up stuff at conferences. What was the point where you decided, or somebody said to you, listen, you should go from doing what you're doing now to speaking about what you're doing now? What was that transition? And the reason why I ask this, it's a loaded question. I've noticed that at some of the conferences, there was a big rush now for therapists and for stage hypnotists that are still what I consider new to the industry. They're quick to become an authority and speaking at conferences. Is there a magic number? Is there a term, a length of time? What was the deciding factor for you to stand up in front of your peers and go, I'm now an expert in this?
Oh boy. No easy questions. All right. You did warn me. When I started going to conferences, I think probably in 2006, I was, when you're brand new, it's great because you see these people that have all this knowledge that you don't have yet, and you look up to them. I have talked about how some of the conferences, they have special badges for the presenters, which gives you a presenter badge prestige. This makes you an even better hypnotist, because if somebody's got the badge on that says they're an instructor, you're going to go into hypnosis, that. So I was amazed, and I thought, I want to get there, that I want to be one of those people. And so I continued going to classes, and I found the best, what I believe to be the best hypnosis instructors in the world. And when I would go to a class, then I would wanted to know who trained that person, and then go and train with that person. So I was fortunate. I was working for the government, so I had plenty of vacation time and money that I could go to these classes. And so I did. And so then as I would go to the conferences, I would see, well, I think this would be an interesting thing to present on. And the first convention that accepted me was the National Guild of Hypnotists. And I don't remember what year that was. It was probably 2009. So as far as how long I had been in the business, I'd probably only been in the business for about maybe 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
But I think, it's I don't think you necessarily have to be the expert, but if you have a niche that you do, and for me it was instant inductions, and I thought, well, I can do these really, really well, and so and people really like them. That's another thing when you're giving a talk at a conference. One of my friends, Keith Livingston, real good guy, great NLP guy and hypnotist. He said hypnotists don't want to learn what they should learn. He said they want to learn the cool stuff. And he's right. They want to learn the cool stuff, and so I was doing the cool stuff out in the street, and so I thought, I think I might be able to get in. So that was my entree into presenting. So I think that if a hypnotist wants to present at conferences, which is a great thing to do, plus what a great networking opportunity when you're at a conference. So if they want to do that, I would say get really, really good at one thing, and try to be one of the best in the world at that one thing. And then that is your ticket into presenting at a conference. I think that's the ticket there.
Yeah. Paul Ramsey says, so freaking true.
Thank you.
David Banfield says, it's comforting to know that even Sean Michael Andrews pops his glasses on to hear better.
It works, Huh?
Yeah. Fantastic. So let me just put a quick link. I've got a link to your website here as well. So I mean, you do classes and training all over the world. What's the next training you've got coming up that people could maybe sign up for?
Well, the next one I have scheduled actually is for Magdeburg, Germany in April of 2023. I want to schedule something in Florida for later on this year, and but I need another flag. That's what I need. I still don't have the Ireland flag. I still don't have my France flag. That's what drives me nowadays. Flags. Capture the flag.
Yeah. Well, I know there's definitely a couple of Irish hypnotists that watch this, so hopefully some collaboration can go on there as well. And you know what? I think that's what this industry is about as well. It is about collaboration. It's about working with people, like you said, finding out the people that you look up to and respect to, and then working with them. I mean, I've been very fortunate with this show that has enabled me to be able to contact great people that I respect as well. And it's fantastic. And it's great. I mean, like this last week, we lost a fantastic stage hypnotist, a legend within the industry, which was, absolutely. Yeah. And it was such a shock as well, and such a great guy. And it's, by us sharing our knowledge, our information, it's a way of keeping that legacy going for such a long time as well. There we go. Joris has found the baptism hypnotist. There's a link on there. So if anyone knows Xavier,
okay.
Yeah,
okay, I can check that out.
Please do get in touch with him. Let him know. I'd love to have him on this show as well, because I know it's one of those things. I think it's when you do something slightly differently, it does open you up for for people to throw negative comments your way. But I'm sure he does it very safely. But it's the baptism hypnotist.
Why did I that just avoid that was under my radar. I did not know about this, but I certainly will check it out.
Oh, definitely. To be fair, I love his style of induction. He does the arm pull slightly differently. And I think it's very theatrical in the way that it's done. And I love the theatrics of an induction. I think it's the difference between a long, boring thing to something that adds drama. So what would you say if you had to sum it up in one kind of sentence? And I know you have a whole book to describe it, but what would you say is the secret to a quick induction?
I can't think of one secret. I can think of a few. One is hypnotize people who want to be hypnotized. That's number one. Because when I was younger, I used to fail because if you didn't run away from me, I was going to try and hypnotize you, and that's a recipe for failure. So hypnotize people that want to be hypnotized. Operate safely. I'm trying to make this one sentence, and exude confidence, even if you don't have it.
Who was I talking to? And it was brilliant. I think for me, one of the thing that frustrated me with the hypnosis world is there was a lot of, and it used to be fake it till you make it. And I think now that's not how it should be. And I can't remember who says it, but it's believe it until you can achieve it. And I think that's absolutely right, especially with confidence. pretend that you're confident, act like you're confident, and hopefully that confidence will come.
Oh yeah.
I always try to not be woo-woo with my hypnosis, but the longer I do it, the more I've been doing it. There is an element of for me, it starts in here. And if there's any doubt inside me, that person's going to pick up on it. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I always ask guests for a golden nugget. If you were to give yourself a piece of advice, if you were starting out again now, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say start earlier.
Yeah.
I think that my sons are both certified hypnotists, and I trained them. They certified them when they were 18 because I was the youngest you could be, and I think if I had started earlier, I could have had more fun all along. Now I wouldn't change anything from when I discovered hypnosis. I wouldn't change anything that I've done along the way, but if I had started earlier, I would have been having this much fun for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So no, I've been very happy with the way things shook out for me. But yeah, I wish I'd been doing this for longer because, as we said, it's the coolest thing ever.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right. I always say every year or two, the whole such and such got talent kind of get in touch. They get in touch with all the hypnotists, I think, and I'm too old to be cool now. So I know I can't go on those shows.
You're very cool, Grant.
Oh, thank you very much. But if I was 18, the world in front of you, what you couldn't achieve with hypnosis is just unbelievable.
Yeah, that it probably would have caused trouble. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But no, do you know what? I think there's a lot of people, myself included, and you mentioned it at the beginning, kind of in your story. We have this fascination of it, and we put it on the back burner for a while, and we do normal stuff. We do grown-up stuff. And then we get to a point in our lives where we go, let's do what we want to do now. And so you're absolutely right. I wish I'd have started when I first wanted to start rather than letting the rest of the world take over. So yeah. Sean, it's been an absolute real pleasure. Do make sure you send over the dates for those trainings in Germany as well, and we'll make sure we share that out there as well to the people that watch this and the network. I'll put another link to your website up as well, so people can click on that website. I know there is links to that on there. There we go. Paul Ramsey says, nicely done, gentlemen. Thanks so much. Paul, thank you. Paul. It is a real pleasure. So yeah, Sean, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us as well. Enjoy that Florida sunshine.
It's the best place in the world.
Oh, absolutely. All
right, Grant, thank you very much for having me. This has been fun, but wow, those are tough questions. I think we talked about things that I've never talked about. So that's great.
That's exactly what we want. Sean, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for your time as well. And
thank you, Grant.
I'll see you soon. Guys, make sure you show that appreciation in the comment section for Sean. Check out his social medias and check out his website as well. And I shall see you same time next week right here on Grant Talks Funny Bits. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Grant. Wow.